Hello, fellow Americans. This is Mr. Steffler. I'm coming to you from room 111, and today we're going to discuss the Bill of Rights and the impending quiz coming next week and the assignment that's due on the day of the quiz. So let's start out talking about the assignment and what the assignment's based on. It's based on the Bill of Rights. In order to feel like you can do the assignment and pass the quiz, I feel like a third component is reading the chapter. The chapter's been posted on Edmodo since last Monday. It's posted twice. It's on an assignment, and then it's also posted. This is not Chapter 10 in your 8th grade history book. This is a special Bill of Rights chapter that I've attached, and without reading it, I think you're putting yourself at a gross disadvantage when taking the quiz. So let's start out talking about the assignment. The assignment that is on the big paper. Let's start out talking about the First Amendment. We have 5 guarantees of protections in the First Amendment. We have protection of the right to petition, the right to assemble, freedom of and from religion, the right to freedom of speech, and the right to freedom of the press, which is also known as freedom of expression, the two of them together. On that same page, we have Amendment 2, which is the right to keep and bear arms, a very controversial amendment dealing with the militia and whether or not the people have the right to keep and bear arms. Also, it talks about the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment is going to be asked about on the quiz. The Fourth Amendment, it protects you from unreasonable searches and seizures. So if you're wondering how you're going to remember all of these things, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that you need to get organized. You need to get these amendments written down. You need to write facts about these amendments, and you need to write down how you are going to remember them. Then maybe transfer those facts onto note cards and then study those note cards. And this process needs to start today. If you think that Monday night you're going to get ready in a 15-minute period for Tuesday's test, you're not. And you're going to wish that you had. Because it's the beginning of the marking period, and you need to get the best grade possible right here on this quiz, and you need time to study. We haven't had a ton of time on the subject matter. We've been kind of like working every day on a new amendment. Like, guys, you got to read the whole chapter. Going on, we also have the 7th Amendment and the 8th Amendment, and they are located together. The 7th Amendment looks like this here. The 7th Amendment has this guy talking to the other guy on crutches. This has to do with civil cases, and this is on the quiz. Okay, civil cases have to do with the 7th Amendment, and it means that nobody's a criminal. Somebody's suing somebody else, but it doesn't involve the government, and it doesn't involve the breaking of a law. It's one person is suing another, or one person is suing a company, and this is called civil law. And so that's the 7th Amendment. We have the 8th Amendment, which is protects us from cruel and unusual punishment and excessive bail and fines. If you don't know what bail is, it's the money that you pay to get out of jail in between the time you're arrested and the time that your trial is. So if you didn't know what that is, you should remember now. On the other page, we have the 5th Amendment. The 5th Amendment is the longest amendment. It is a legal protections amendment. It protects us from double jeopardy, which is being tried twice for the same crime. It protects us, gives us a grand jury, which is you need to have an indictment. I think you need to look up the term indictment. You do not have to bear witness against yourself in the 5th Amendment, and this is where the right to remain silent comes in, and these are called your Miranda Warnings, and that is on the quiz also. I'm going to be talking about that in class. The Miranda Warnings tell you have the right to remain silent. You don't have to talk. Okay, sometimes it benefits you too, but you don't have to talk. The 5th Amendment also, juries must find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and if the government wants your land, they have to pay you for it. So that's a brief on the 5th Amendment. There's a lot to it. That is right above Amendment 3, which is no soldiers in homes. I think this is the easiest amendment. Nobody wants a soldier living in their house, eating their food, playing their PlayStation, petting their dog. No, nobody wants that. And like, this is the one thing I think Republicans and Democrats can agree on. Nobody wants soldiers living in homes. So this is probably the easiest of the 10 amendments. We also have the 6th Amendment on your paper. The 6th Amendment is this one here, where you have an attorney standing there with a briefcase. This is where you get the right to an attorney. Also in your Miranda warnings. You have the right to question witnesses that the government brings against you. You have the right to a public, speedy trial. And you have the right to hear the charges against you. And this is called habeas corpus. They have to tell you what they're holding you for. Okay, so this is the 6th Amendment. This is very important. Below that are the 2 last amendments. The 9th Amendment, all rights not listed in the Constitution will go back to the people. So just because the Constitution doesn't say you can't do it, that doesn't mean that you can't do it. Just because there's no right that says that you have the right to do it. There's a lot of things that aren't in the Constitution that you have the right to do. So that's the 9th Amendment. And then the 10th Amendment is talks about federalism. And this is going to go back to last chapter. The separation between the federal government on one hand does some jobs. The state government on one hand does some jobs. And they kind of come together and share jobs. Okay, the 10th Amendment kind of talks about the state's rights to do certain things and things not listed in the Constitution as responsibilities to the government then go back to the states. And that's the 10th Amendment. And that's probably one of the most controversial amendments throughout the United States, dealing with what do states have the right to do exactly. So this is a very important amendment, the 10th Amendment. So we have a test coming up. It talks about the very beginning of the chapter talks about, the ratification process, talks about James Madison being the main author of the Bill of Rights. I've told you the Bill of Rights is attached to the Constitution. I mean, we should know that. This is something that we've discussed almost every day. It's like they're married. That if you have a problem with your rights being violated, the place that you go is courts. Okay, especially the federal courts protect the rights of the Bill of Rights. And then, the question, we have a bunch of questions about the amendment. There's 15 questions. Like I told you, what to do to study. I would watch this video. I would pause this video. I would write some things down. Then I would take and transfer those things onto note cards where I would sit with a friend and study those note cards until you know it back and forth, till you feel like you own the Bill of Rights, like you feel like you wrote it yourself. If you want to pass the test, these are the things that you have to do. If you're not willing to do that, just accept what grade you earned. So on that note, have a great day. God bless you, and God bless America. Boom.